It's a very beautiful spring morning, Abhayagiri. And the last couple days, Ajahn Chunda and I were trying to get a hold of Ajahn Nyaniko, and he's in Dhamma. It's out in the middle of back of beyond nowhere, western Thailand on the Burmese border. And very hard to get a hold of anybody out there because to check the phone, they need to climb to the top of a mountain. And they only do that once every few days or maybe even once a week sometimes. And so they were sending messages, but of course they weren't getting through. But then last night, I was able to contact a Thai person who had a direct line to, they said, the person who has radio contact, or they have an emergency radio set up at Dowdam. So in the end, we were able to get the message to Ajahn Nyaniko that his mother was about to pass away. And then him and Ajahn Siripanyo hiked to the top of the mountain. And then he was able to FaceTime, Ajahn Nyaniko was able to FaceTime with his sister. And his mother was still alive, and she passed away while they were FaceTiming. So that's quite good timing, and really amazing that he was able to do that from Dowdam. And I think very meaningful for him. And so we're expediting his trip back to America so that he can go to Nashville, Tennessee, and be around for whatever he's needed for his family stuff. So yeah, it's amazing sometimes how these things come together. And I had no idea there was a radio that they could call Dowdam with. So, and at first nobody was picking up the radio. I was just thinking, it's like one of those things where like the radio is going and they don't know what it is because it's just been sitting there gathering dust for so long. And kind of the radio is piping up with some message coming over, and maybe they didn't even know how to use it. Like, what's going on? There's a radio here? But then they did get the message. So that's, I think that was great. So this is the time of year when there's normally more coming and going. And I think it's good that we have these beautiful spring mornings because we can tap into it. It's really strange and tricky and interesting how the mind works. So we can actually feel okay. We can feel okay and be at ease, but then we think of something or somebody tells us something or reminds us of something, and then it can give rise to desire and longing in the mind and the heart. So, and it wasn't there before, but then once we remember something or somebody tells us something, then the desire comes up. So like it's dependent on these sankharas. So we might just be listening to the birds and enjoying the beautiful weather, and the mind is at ease. And then we remember the person who wronged us or the person who said something disagreeable to us, and then we feel upset, and suddenly we aren't listening to the birds or enjoying the beautiful weather anymore. We're just lost in suffering, lost in dukkha. So it just happens all the time. It'll happen over and over again through the day. So the skill of practice is how to get back to that sense of peace, how to get back to that sense of calm and ease that we had when there was no issues, there was no problems, when those moments where we forgot that we were supposed to be upset with that person, or that moment that we forgot we wanted that thing. So how can we get back to that? So just changing the focus and pushing things away, pushing things down temporarily, that's the samadhi. We can feel at ease when we just shift the focus, say, to the breath or to the sounds of the birds or the feeling of the perfect temperature, the cool breeze outside. That's like samadhi. But then the panya, the wisdom, is then when those memories, those thoughts do come up, and it doesn't disturb the sense of ease. The sense of ease doesn't get disturbed by the memory, and because there's wisdom. How does the wisdom come about? The wisdom comes about only through seeing the suffering of those things. Hence the Buddha teaching the Four Noble Truths. So, wanting, desire, leads to suffering. Tanha leads to suffering. That's the cause of suffering. Right. So you just have to keep reminding ourselves. But then it's so easy to forget because the craving, the tanha, when it comes up, is very convincing and very compelling. And usually it starts in the heart, that feeling of craving, and then the mind picks it up and comes up with all these rationalizations as to why it's actually good, but it's just suffering. So sometimes we need to look at it from the opposite direction, so that if there's suffering present, is there suffering present or not? If there is, there's some sort of tanha behind it. So we look at it from back to front as well, seeing that, okay, yeah, there's all these rationalizations coming up for this thing I want. Am I suffering right now? Yes. Okay, so that means it's tanha. So being able to back it up and look at it like that is very important. And just as we over and over and over again see that this is suffering when it's happening, when there's irritation, when there's anger, when there's longing, when there's passion, this is suffering here and now, then the mind will start to get it over time, but we have to keep using mindfulness to remind ourselves that this is suffering. So when we see it over and over again, eventually it'll go from the mind to the heart, and the heart won't be able to, it'll see truly that these defilements do burn it. And when it really truly sees that, then it won't be able to pick things up anymore. It won't be able to get lost in suffering, because it'll see it's just a mass of flames, just a massive fire that's burning it all the time, unceasingly. And it'll naturally want to go to that place that's cool. But currently it thinks tanha is going to lead it to the place that's cool, but it never has and it never will, and it doesn't currently. So it'll never lead to lasting well-being, although it is telling us that it will, because it's only seeing the arising of things. It's not noticing the cessation of things. Tanha only sees the arising, or it sees the cessation if it comes. It only sees the cessation if it comes from the angle of not wanting something, wanting to get rid of something. But it doesn't see both. It never sees both sides. Tanha only sees things in a one-sided way. It doesn't see things from every angle, but mindfulness sees things from every angle. Leave that for reflection this morning.